Hi, so in this video, we're going to go over the AP CSA Unit 2 topic of loops. And so we've got two different types of loops that we're going to go over. We've got while loops and for loops. We'll do while loops first, and then we'll do for loops at the end. So while loops and for loops are both about repeating code. So if statements, right? So think about, go back to the other video we had on if statements. If statements are about you have a condition and then you have a block of code. And if the condition is true, you're going to execute, you're going to run the code inside of that block. While loops are the same idea, except that we are going to run the code repeatedly. So let's do this right here. So I have, let me make my font size bigger. And let me bump up the zoom here. So let's do this. We have int person's age equals 25. So we have if person's age greater than 24, we're going to print out this, can rent car. So this is the example we were using in our if statements. We were talking about car rentals, okay? So this code should work, and it should print can rent car. Let's see, yes, can rent car, exactly. So while loops are this. You change the if to a while, and the code inside will repeat. Now we are going to have something called an infinite loop because, let's stop this program. Okay. So we stopped it. And so the code in here is going to repeat infinitely because person's age is always 25 and it's always greater than 24. So we're repeating this code in here as many times as we can. So that's kind of the example, and that's kind of the connection between if statements and while loops is that while loops are the same as if statements. You're still going to have a condition and a block of code. It's just that instead of running the code once, you're going to run the code as many times as you can until the code, until you have some situation in which this evaluates to false. So you're thinking, okay, well, wait a second. 25 is always greater than 24. So like, what's the point of any of this? You're just going to run the code a bajillion infinite number of times. And so the key thing about loops is that you need to have inside of your loop, you need to update this variable. So this is often called the loop variable. This is the condition. And then inside of this while loop, we need to update the loop variable. So we have to do that. And so we'll go over a better example in a second here. So while some condition, we've got a block of code to repeat. Okay, so let's see here. So we've got kind of the reverse, and we will paste this into the editor, and let's check it out. So we're gonna paste this in, and we're gonna get our indents right. Okay, so now let's read this one. This one's a little bit different. So a person's born, they're 0 years old. While their age is less than 24, we're going to say you cannot rent a car in the US, and then we're going to increase their age. So that's a critical thing here, is this is where we update the loop variable. Okay? So we update the loop variable here. So this should print something around 24 times here. Okay, you cannot rent a car in the US. And what we can also do here is we can print out how old they are, just so we can get a sense that we are in fact changing the value of the loop variable. You are person's age years old. Okay, so we should see this. Okay, so and we can flip these two around. Let's do this. So let's read this. You are 0 years old, you cannot rent a car in the US. You are 1 years old, you cannot rent a car in the US. And so then we can do this. So at the end, after this loop, person's age is going to have a value, and we know at this point you can rent a car in the US. So let's make a complete program here. Okay, so you're 0, you can't rent a car. You're 10, you can't rent a car, blah, 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 blah. At the end, you are 24 years old, and you can rent a car in the US. Okay, so this is the whole situation. And see how this didn't print infinitely, right? It stopped because we have this condition, and we have the loop variable, and we have this update to the loop variable. Because we update the loop variable every time we repeat the code in the loop, this is what makes it so that eventually this condition is false, and that is why the loop actually eventually stops. Because as soon as this person's age less than 24 condition evaluates to false, we skip out of the loop and we move on to the code that is after the loop. Okay, so there you go. Okay, so for loops are the same idea as while loops. They have a different syntax and they're more specific, but they allow you to do the exact same thing. Anything you can do with a for loop, you can do with a while loop. While loops are a little bit more general, but for loops are similar. So I'm going to change this here. So for loops go like this. You put everything on one line. It's really about saving space. Okay, so we do this, and I'm just cutting. You see, I'm just cutting and pasting code here. Okay, that's all we did. We used to have 3 lines, and we'll go back and forth between the two. Oh yeah, okay. So person's age is declared here, and it's only available inside of this area here. So that is a difference between for loops and while loops. So let's just get rid of this part for now. Okay, so you see that this does the same thing. Okay, so all we did, let's go back in time. We can go back and forward. Okay, so we changed the word while to for, and then we put, this is creating and initializing a variable. This is a condition, and this is a statement that updates the code. So let's go forward in time. We changed the word while to for. We moved the variable creation and initialization into this same line. And then I messed up for a second. And then we moved this update into that one line. And we got rid of that stuff. And then again, this did the same thing as the while loop, basically. Okay. So for loops are really, again, they're about saving space, and they do throw people off because it's a little bit odd. So the order in which things happen. So Java gets to the for loop. They do the initialization of the variable exactly one time, right at the beginning. Then they do the comparison. Then they run all the code in here, and then they do the update. So initialization once, comparison every time, run the code, then do the update. So it's a very specific order. And you can see this. You are 0 years old gets printed out. And that's because we initialize to 0, and we don't do the update until after we have run the code inside the loop one time. So very specific sort of stuff here. Okay, so let's see here. So we have a different example of for loops, and we include now, we can combine all of the concepts that we know about, and we're going to combine the concepts of for loops and if statements. Okay. And you want to get your indenting right whenever you do this. Okay. So now we're going to go through 100 times. You can see we start at 0 and we say person's age less than 100. And we print out their age. And then if they're greater than 24, we say you can rent a car. So we should see this. For the beginning, for the first 24 years, we just see the age. And then we see you can rent a car, you can rent a car, you can rent a car. And believe it or not, we made a mistake in this code. So we had our if statement condition as greater than 24. We actually want greater than or equal to 24. Okay. And because when you're 24 years old, that's the rule, that's the law. So is that you can rent a car. So now we have you are 24 years old, you can rent a car. One thing you'll notice is also the person's age variable only goes up to 99. And that's because we have a less than here. If we want to see the person be 100 years old, we need to do less than or equal to. So now we will see the 100 down here. Okay, so a lot of stuff, but so we had if statements is what we knew, where we did a condition and we ran the code once. While loops is we have a condition and we run the code as many times as we want until the condition is false. And then for loops are really taking what we did with while loops and condensing it, where we're doing like a bunch of different stuff all on one line of code. Okay, cool. So now there's a lot of interesting stuff we can do. Now that we have the ability to repeat code, we can do lots of different interesting things. And so one of the things we can do is we can mess around with strings. So we had, let's have this loop here, and let's take a look at what it is. Okay. And so we have a string, and that has all of the letters in the alphabet. And so this is a really common loop that you'll see. Is you'll go from I equals 0 to the length of the string, and then you will get some substring of the string and you will print that out. It's an extremely common type of loop. And let's see, S substring. This should be my string dot substring. Excellent. So we got the letters of the alphabet. So we can do this though. Letter, and then we can do this. So letter 0 is A, letter 1 is B, letter 2 is C. And so this is how, so now we're going to get into the concept, and this will be thrown into your brain a million more times soon when we talk about loops and what we call arrays in Java. But for right now with strings, this variable I is actually short for the word index, and index is your position in the string. So in Java, the letter A is at index 0. And we talked about this a little bit when we talked about substrings and strings. So your index of the first letter in your string is 0. So that always kind of trips people up. And then you have letter 25 is Z. So that's why you have to do less than the string's length. So let's just do this real quick, just as a reminder. Print line, the string has length. My string length. Okay, so the string has length 26. Okay, and then we go from 0 to 25. Okay, so this is the standard loop, and you really need to memorize this. And please don't do this. Please don't put a less than or equal to sign here, because you're going to get a big red thing at the end. Range 26 is out of bounds for length 26. So that's something that you do want to avoid doing. So don't do this less than or equal to sign. The way to do it is less than. You can do the math out yourself and recognize that this is true, or you can take our word for it and kind of just memorize this loop. So that's that. And I think we've got one more slide here, and I'm not going to go over this too much, but it is the case that you can put loops inside of loops. And this is going to be much more important later when we talk about something called 2D arrays, which we are certainly not talking about right now. So I'm just going to do this here. I is plus I. J is, okay? And so we can do this. So a nested loop, you change you have what we call an outer loop and an inner loop. So the outer loop is the one that gets declared first, and then the inner loop is the one that gets declared second, or if not declared, but run second. And so you see what happens is that we change the outer loop variable, and we change it, and then we change the inner loop variable a bunch of times. And we change the outer loop variable. So we do this, okay, to run this outer loop, right? It means we need to do the code inside the loop. And so what we can maybe do here is about to run inner loop. So you'll see we're about to run the inner loop, and we're going to do that 10 times, okay? So you run the inner loop, you do the 10 things, and then you're about to run the inner loop again, you do the 10 things, and you're about to run the inner loop, you do the 10 things. That's how it works. So again, with the nested loops, it gets more valuable when we talk about this later topic of 2D arrays. So right now, not such a big deal, but that's a nested loop there for you. And it's nested because one thing is inside of the other. So I think those are all the slides we have about loops there. Super important topic. And so we're right at 15 minutes here. So I will cut the video at this point. Hope it was helpful. And if this channel has been helpful to you, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, that would really help us out a lot to get more views on these videos. So again, thanks for watching, and have a good one.